You're welcome to the Economy and Politics Show. I'm Ottoabasi Abasiekong. Happy New Year 2024, and we hope for the best in this special year that offers huge opportunities for Nigeria to reposition its economy and financial market for inclusive growth. This edition will discuss 2024 Nigerian economic and financial market developments to watch. And my guest joining me virtually is Mr. Muktar Mohammed, the CEO of Finance with Muktar. Thank you for joining me, and Happy New Year 2024, Mr. Muktar.
Happy New Year. Hopefully it should be a glorious year for us, economically especially.
Yes. I like the way you put the glorious year. That sounds like those cliches we get when we start the new year, but very, very interesting. I'm very sure I'll ask you about your New Year resolution as we always do, but that will be much later in the conversation. But let's look at the year. I mean, there's so much promises. The first is to look at the oil and gas sector, which still accounts for over 90% of our revenue and same 90% of our foreign exchange inflows. We're looking at the return to domestic refining and production. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery received last year over 2 million crude products, which shows it's going to boost production this year. And of course, we've seen the NNPC Port Harcourt Refinery. According to the statement, mechanical completion, we want to see more activity from that phase. And of course, modular refineries like Walter Smith are supposed to start production. But from what we're seeing, it's like a return to domestic refining and production for 2024. What more should we expect in this sector, Mr. Muktar?
Yeah, thank you. I think for me, that's a game changer for 2024. That will have a positive effect on every area of our economy. We are a petrol-driven economy. And so when we begin to refine locally, and that will bring down the cost, even if the cost will not come down extremely, I normally tell people because they will still have to buy this for based on crude oil based on international price. So definitely refining also could be very expensive in Nigeria because of all the issues that have to do with infrastructure, providing all those enabling environment, providing the machineries for yourself to refine and that. So that could also be one area that will drive costs. But again, one area that we'll be excited about will no more see the landing charge, the NEMASA charge, that charge that always charges that always accumulate into almost half of the price of the refined petroleum product that's coming into the country. So that for me is going to be a game changer. Hopefully that comes into stream. Like you mentioned, a lot. But the two major ones that will really be the game changer will be Dangote Petrochemical Refinery and the Port Harcourt Refinery. So that alone, that means in 2024, we Nigerian most will definitely stop local importation of refined petroleum products. So for me, that was good. Then again, it will attract a lot of investment and it will create job opportunities. We're talking about direct jobs. Dangote says direct job is going to be almost 50,000. The indirect jobs, there are also over 300,000 indirect jobs. So for me, finally, we could begin to say we are really a oil-driven economy if we are able to achieve that. I think I'm excited about the oil and gas sector in 2024. But again, you made a mention about revenue. Revenue might be low because, again, unless we need to get it some other place, because OPEC have said we will only be allowed to sell about 1.5 million barrels per day, because even Angola own has been brought down to 1.1. So our own is, and they have to pull out of OPEC. So our own is 1.5, and the government estimate is 1.76. So they'll have a shortfall. Hopefully, that shortfall are what they will now use for local refining. So definitely that could also help. I think that should be their strategy. Hopefully that should be their strategy to be able to meet that revenue gap in the oil and gas sector. Like you said, it's our cash cow. We could talk about every other sector we want. We can talk about agricultural sector, but one sector that brings effects into the economy, and that effects has we feel its impact in our balance sheet, especially in our foreign reserve, is oil and gas.
Yes, I just wanted to add also that we will be monitoring this year the prospect of the BOA Group Petrochemical Refinery to be located in Akwa Ibom State. That's about 200,000 barrels per day compared to Dangote with 650,000. So if that one comes on stream too, Mr. Muktar, that will also be a game changer. So we're monitoring that too.
Yes, especially for BOA, I think its own game changer might even be more economically realistic. I mean, maybe we could say BOA could come up there and could change the market dynamics because source of crude oil is closer to point of refining. So we
Yeah,
just see the pipelines and so not moving through the water. And so, but again, that will come with its own challenge that has to do with security.
definitely.
Unfortunately for him, Akwa Ibom is not a volatile area in terms of security. So that
Peaceful
could be
people.
something, and it's an investment-friendly environment with the
Yeah.
kind of infrastructure the government, the former Senate president and the former governor and current governor put in place. Akwa Ibom is one place I love so much. I actually spent some of my part of my years of my life in that place. So
Oh,
it's
nice.
going to be good.
That's a nice assessment of Akwa Ibom. Nice to note that. And COP28 last year, there was no agreement on fossil fuels the investments. That's saying that they're not going to invest further. So when you look at these energy transition issues, are there going to be any concerns or risks to Nigeria's oil and gas industry as we see various industries evolve looking at energy transition?
I don't think it will be because again, you see that Nigeria is already, even the president said that they should hold on in terms of all those Fox gas, something I remember Africa is not yet ready. And again, when we talk about this, I keep telling people clean energy is going to take time. Again, and when it comes to clean energy, we also have large reserve of that we've not even tapped. So
That's, yeah.
it's a win-win for us Nigerians if at the end of the day some of this policy will find the light of the day. But in the short term, we are telling them to hold on because we don't have the kind of infrastructure they have. We don't have most of all these vehicles will be manufacturers in their place, and then they have the financial might into their own consumer spending for their citizens to be able to afford these cars.
That's
But for
electric vehicles.
Nigerians, yeah, for
Triple.
Nigerians, it's not going to be easy because again, even bringing in those vehicles into our country with the kind of exchange rate volatility we have is really going to be too expensive for us. I think for me, I think the government have done well to be pleading that they should give them more time before some of these things should come into stream.
Yeah, more time. Very important that we try to work that out. But let's look at power and energy. I know you're very conversant in this area. The federal government is mulling the unbundling of the transmission company of Nigeria. I know that some of the investors in the Gencos had said that there should be a kind of co-ownership for those that own Gencos to invest in transmission. But is it the right timing for that? And also, should electricity subsidies be sustained? Because look at the projection from the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission. We spent over 2 trillion naira so far on subsidies for electricity.
One, let me start with the second question.
Yes.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. No government, any part in the world that does not subsidize something for its citizens.
Okay.
For me, the best subsidy that Nigerian government can do for its citizen is a subsidy that's going to touch every Nigerian, not
Okay.
the type that we saw before in the oil and gas sector, whereby the
That
rich
some few
kept
people are benefiting from.
benefiting from that. People that have 2, 3 cars were benefiting
Yeah.
from it more. But when you talk about the electricity subsidy, it touched every household in Nigeria, whether you're rich, poor. So
Those
for
with the
me, that's
household.
the real subsidy. And so if you say it's going up, I don't have a problem with that. Because the management of that subsidy is something that they should be able to manage it very, very well. And so between the government and the discos. So for me, that's a good subsidy. If you say we are spending 2 trillion, it's not even comparable to before President Tinubu came to power. Remember, we're going to spend about 6 trillion already on subsidy for oil and gas. So two
Yes.
trillion for every Nigerian, for every. But the challenge has to do because that could increase, like you
Yes.
rightly say, that
So,
could increase when almost all the households in Nigeria start enjoying electricity. Because this is it like this, because some part don't really have electricity for a long time. So the longer they have this electricity, the more of this subsidy will pay. But
okay.
again,
Yeah.
I think it's a short-time fix, which is good. Even if government is going to say, okay, after some time, we are going to begin to get our hands off those subsidies. But the Nigerians will feel the impact in terms of development, because what Nigerians are looking for is not so much than what can we use to be able to be productive. So, and Nigerians are not saying they cannot pay. By the time you have all the houses meter, this subsidy might even come down because some of the subsidy that they are giving to Nigeria are estimated billing, especially in the rural area. So It's neither here nor there. For me, I think that's the best subsidy that we can say we are paying. And I think government should continue with that subsidy. For the distribution, transmission, for me, I think we must get it right in the transmission if we have to do it. I still believe it's not in its place of government to be in any business. I still stand by that. I still think that government should hands up most businesses in Nigeria. Still stand by that. But again, I still feel that we should be able to do it differently. When I mean differently, I mean we should get the real people there to get it, not people that come there because of the cash. And we saw that they didn't look at the investment. So we must begin to look at the real players to really get that transmission. I mean, yes, transmission. Because we're already suffering, because we didn't get the real players in the distribution, we are suffering. So we must make sure we get our act out, and the government is open in terms of transparency in this electricity distribution cell, if it has to go on. For me, I think it should go on. So we have more players in there. Government save more money into social investment than still putting money in distribution. And then the Gencos will say, the Discos will say, no, this is not what we are. And if possible, if some Discos can own some of these transmission companies, I don't see anything bad, but there must be people that have the technical partner to be able to do it. But my own challenge in all this is that let's have the technical partner, let's have the real people. You know, when they started the privatization of the former PHCN, more big corporate giant wanted to come. General Electricity was ready to come. Some of the big player ones, I think in South Africa, an energy company was ready to come to Nigeria. But again, the unions were at the point they said that it's too critical for you to hand over a critical sector like the economy to foreigners. I mean, the power sector to foreigners, more or less handing over your economy. But we have seen why they said that, because up to this moment, we have not enjoyed those results of the privatization. So I don't think it should happen in the distribution. We should get the right players to get it and get more of distribution. By the time they have more to distribute to the discos will be forced to also improve their own capacity to receive it. And so, and if some discos are the ones that are owning it, they also will begin to think of capacity to able to all the generate to be distributed. So for me, it's a good omen if it goes on. But my key word is let there be transparency.
Yes, let there be transparency, and we need a lot of investment in transmission. The issue of national grid collapse needs to stop. And also, for the other one you raised, I think energy mix is very important. We just have to utilize all our energy mix so that we can have sustainable energy in the country. Now, let's look at the fiscal policy. The Tax and Fiscal Reforms Committee is supposed to submit this draft report early this year. How critical is that report to transforming the tax landscape in the country? If you can respond to that in the next 30 seconds, because we have Mr. Tawidele who said we have over 60 taxes across federal, state and local governments. We need to reduce those taxes so that businesses can survive.
That would be a good one. I have a lot of respect for Mr. Tawidele, and I think he has been one that have been vocal for SME, especially in the area of tax. And so coming up, being the head of that task, we are looking forward to those innovations are going to come in. I have said it that even the president said that the new tax policy will not kill business, rather it will encourage more business. So I look forward to that document. Hopefully that document will not be circulated in the media eyes before it gets to the presidency, or when the presidency gets it, the following days all over the media.
Mr. Muktar. I know where you're heading to.
So we hopefully let's do the right thing and let's get this thing, and so that we kickstart our economy, especially the tax reform, to get more Nigeria in the tax bracket. What I'm looking forward to in that policy is how he's going to come up with that ingenious way to get the informal sector to begin to pay tax. For me, that would be the game changer. I'm waiting for that document, eagerly waiting for it.
Informal sector, yeah. Let's look at monetary policy quickly. What should we expect from foreign exchange management? The much anticipated recapitalization of banks also, and for this year, we heard the CBN talk about recapitalization. ProShare projected that, and also the foreign exchange management.
Well, for recapitalization, I don't have an issue with recapitalization, but again, capacity is more important for me when it comes to recapitalization. We did it in 2004. By 2008, after Soludo saying no bank in Nigeria will collapse by 2008, almost some of those so-called big banks were going under, because the regulators you see sometimes we are talking about recapitalization to $1 trillion economy. The regulators themselves are there building capacity to manage a $1 trillion economy. So for me, that's where I have the time. Because when you see the banks have all this liquidity in the system, and they then begin to get into areas that are too risky, and the regulators are not up to their game. That's what happened in 2008. Banks started buying houses here in foreign lands, in Dubai, in the UK, in the US. Those were not areas they should play with, but they had so much liquidity, and we saw what happens. For me, for the recapitalization in terms of the monetary policy, I'm saying let them also build capacity to be able to manage those recapitalization, not just being $1 trillion economy and you still have $1 million people managing $1 trillion economy. It will not work well. That is one. Then secondly, in the monetary policy, in the FX rate, I don't think it's not the managed FX rate. I think the market determining factor. What I expect the CBN to do now is to build their war chest, have the liquidity to intervene so that we can have this rate stability. If there's no stability in this rate, you will not attract the foreign investors. Even in Nigeria, in the diaspora, we look for other means to remit, and that will not add to the bottom line of CBN to make liquidity available. So for me, I think what we should be looking at is making liquidity available and CBN able to use that war chest of liquidity to make sure they stabilize the exchange rate. Floating of the naira does not mean that you cannot intervene, but it also means that you know you're intervening when you see your currency is not priced right, which is what every economy, every CBN all over the world does. So for me, it's all about liquidity to make sure we bring stability to that space in 2024.
I'm so happy to hear that you've joined the liquidity gang now for FX. That's the keyword, liquidity to have FX. Very keyword. That reminds me of Dr. Yoteriva. Nice one. Now, there are immense opportunities for the financial services industry in this year. One major part is digital finance. And if you look at it, how do you see the industry reset to boost areas like financial inclusion? Last year, you saw that central bank now allows digital assets account opening. So how would that really help to deepen financial inclusion?
It will help. We've seen those digital space. Today, financial inclusion in the rural areas has been driven by the fintech digital financial companies. So I'm excited about that. And I think my only challenge is that hopefully we could see some of them in 2024. Remember, the bank have the holding companies now, and we could begin to see the bank acquiring some of these companies very soon, especially with the CBN policy that have come out and say some of them are not registered and some of them also have good network of customers. So we could begin to see the banks acquiring some of these fintech companies, some of these digital companies. They really drive financial inclusion. I told somebody that what we don't see in the positivity of the cashless, the redesign of the Naira early this year was because it drives a lot of the informal sector into the financial inclusion space. Most of them never had account before, they now have an account. Most of them now have fintech accounts. So there was a positivity in that area. But again, I think it's going to be a very critical year in 2024 for that sector. But most especially, I think to be a year of most of them will be selling, most of them will be merging, and the big financial institution will be the one to gain from it in 2024.
As you wrap up, Mr. Muktar, you saw that an area you're also conversant with the capital market, the NGX, the stock market. There was bullish run last year. Now, for this year, we want to see a return of initial public offerings. That's IPOs, and there has been a death to that. So, what must be done to really address this? Do you see an improvement this year? There are prospects that maybe the NNPC will come to the market, some other state enterprise will come to the market. What do you see happen, and how can we get back retail investors? We also burnt in a way in 2008, 2009, the market crisis. How did you get back? How did people get back? So how can we get them back, retail investors?
I think retail investor, let me start with that. Any retail investor that have not gotten back should be biting his fingers now. I mean, most of them are, most of the shares selling pre-high 2020, 2008. They are even higher than what they were selling in 2008. And these times they have the fundamentals to keep them liquid the way they are. I mean, the fundamental to back the price that we have. I think 2023 was one of the best year for the capital market. I said it in a forum that the only sector that have benefited from President Tinubu have two very critical policy, the refloating of the Naira and the removal of subsidy has been the capital market. And so those capital markets are still enjoying that benefit. And we really continue 2024. It will continue. It might continue, but it will continue. Now, this is why I enjoyed about the rally of the 2023 rally of the capital market. It's largely driven by local investors. So it's largely driven by three sets of local investors, the retail local investors, those that didn't give up after the market crash, and those that came in again, through enlightenment from the NGS. Those were the people that drive it in 2023. Also local institutional investors and INET investors, INET individuals and INET investors. They were the ones that drive the market in 2023. And those three people will still want to be in the market. But the game changer in the market will come if we have stability in the FX rate and the foreign investors, especially foreign portfolio investors, begin to come into the market. That will see the market get to its all-time high. And that also will come with its own challenge, which is any slip in an economic policy. They are the first people to want to run out of the market. So, but like I said, the beauty of it is that local investors are driven this market. I'm excited about that. I say it everywhere. I'm proud of the Nigerian local investors. They take ownership of the market, and that's what I've always craved for all my years. As a capital market player and as a capital market analyst, I think locals should play the market more like what is done in every other developed economy of the world. In an economy where you have locals 40%, foreign 60%, does not augur well for that market. But today we have local 95%, foreign just 5%. And those 5% of those foreigners that are there are those that have not been able to exit the market because their funds are trapped. And so they just decide to go back to the market. So I think 2024 will be a good year for the equity market still. But again, that will be largely driven by foreign investors, most likely not local investors. I mean, local investors will help maintain price stability, but foreign investors will make the bullish runs to continue if they start coming.
Yeah, I know that you didn't have much time to talk about the IPOs. We'll discuss that subsequently because that will be a very key game changer.
The IPO for me, you said in one IPO I'm expecting. Yes, one IPO I'm expecting is the NNPC, which NNPC will come to market. That will deepen the market because as it stands now, most of the key drivers of the Nigerian economy are not in the capital market. And when you get the NNPC and you get Dangote Refinery, in that space, you have deepened the market. So I'm expecting IPOs.
Definitely. NNPC will be a big one. Thank you very much, Mr. Muktar. Mohammed, CEO of Finance with Muktar, for this very interesting conversation on the insights you've given on the 2024 Nigeria economic and financial market developments to watch. It was really interesting discussing it with you, and we're optimistic that things will really look for the better this year, 2024. Thank you once again, and have a very wonderful 2024.
You too. Thank you for having me.
To our viewers, if you want to get further insights on this conversation, visit the ProShare website displayed on the screen and follow our social media platforms to engage further on this show. Till we come your way again, enrich yourself this year with the knowledge of socioeconomic developments around you because it is a wise thing to do. I'm Ottoabasi Abasiekong. Thank you for watching and I wish you a prosperous 2024.